Hello and welcome to a special edition of Labour Social. I'm in Liverpool. Hello. We've got Aid Thompson here with us tonight. We've got Darren Blase Thompson. We've also got John Mortar. Hey, John, how you doing? And we've got Wayne. How you doing, Wayne? You all right, mate?
I'm good,
All
man.
good, all good. So I'm very, very sorry if any of the audio is a bit bum. Let me know and I'll try and fix it while everyone else talks. So, Aid, I want to start with you because you've been away all week, but you came back. And you've already done a video for the today's newspapers, it's one of those weeks where I'm away and I'm like, oh, there's loads of stuff to talk about because I was away as well this week. We didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance to talk about it because we were away, and now we've got a chance. So the first thing I want to talk about is the return of Farage because Richard Tice and the Reform Party aren't doing very well at the moment. They keep on having to get rid of their candidates because they're dead. No, one of them is dead. Like literally, one of them was dead.
Died.
Yeah, one of them was. He died.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. That'll teach him.
Now, what I'm worried about?
That was earned, yeah.
I'm seeing these polls coming out saying that Labour are at 45%, the Tories are on like 20%, and the Reform UK are on like 15%, right? So although we think there's a sort of 20-point gap between the Tories and Labour, it might be 10, even 5% if they join forces with Refuck. Do you think it's going to happen?
Do I?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, right. So I wouldn't rule it out because this is exactly what happened with the Brexit Party, which are obviously the predecessors. They, it's run by the same people. They were both run as companies rather than political parties. Same people leading it. I can't remember off the top of my head how far in advance they made that deal last time, but they did make a deal. They did agree to stand down their candidates in the Tory seats, and that was what gifted Boris Johnson his victory that he was able to come away with. Everybody loves to rewrite history. Everybody loves to say, like, oh, Johnson won over the Red Wall. It was Johnson's Brexit. Boris Johnson won this stonking majority. It was the biggest Tory majority since blah, blah, blah. No, he won the majority based on the Brexit Party agreeing to stand down and stop that vote splitting. It appears at this stage that Reform have absolutely no desire to cut a deal, but you never know, do you? Like that could be a negotiating, bargaining chip as we get closer.
Well, as a scholar of British politics, what was the scope with the coalition back in 2010? Because obviously the Tories cut a deal with the Lib Dems. The Lib Dems went to the Labour Party as well when Gordon Brown was at the helm, and the Tories seemed to get them on board. So do you think that there's not a possibility, if they're going to get absolutely drenched, which all polls are suggesting, that they link up with Reform and try and sort of get in through the back door that way?
I actually don't think that Reform need to offer a coalition. I think their goals really are to define the right-wing narrative for the next 2 to 4 years. I think their goal, if you're a Tice or a Farage or the people who are funding these people, actually what you want is for us to leave the ECHR so you can start to remove workers' rights, workers' protections, things like maternity pay, so you can force people to work longer hours, possibly through the weekend. I'm not saying it'll be anything ferociously radical immediately, but they will have the ability to start tweaking these laws. And it will start off with jobs they'll say, yeah, look, we'll offer you 50k if you are 2 days a week in the office, but we'll offer you 55k if you come in full time and you work one Saturday a month. And you'll be like, well, I could get a better mortgage if I do the 55k one, so I guess that's what I'm going to do. They'll just start eroding into your weekend. They'll reduce paternity leave down from whatever abysmal rate it is now down to half of that, because they'll say it's essential to grow the economy. So I don't think they need to form a coalition, like an actual parliamentary coalition with them. I think what they need to do, or what Reform will do and are doing, is they'll just continue to nip at the Tories' heels until the Tories effectively, de facto, become Reform, because they have to keep appeasing and placating these deserting voters. So
That's
to
my
try to
fear.
win them back,
That's my fear.
I think that's where we're headed.
I just noticed John was shaking his head quite a lot.
I just want to say hi to Cozy first, and I will come to John in a second. I just want to say thank you to Paul for the £2 super chat. Laptop fund, it's not enough for a Krispy Kreme. Thank you very much for £2 towards my laptop fund. I was talking about this morning on the show because I've had terrible trouble with my laptop. I went on holiday with all of my kit so I could do the show on Monday morning, the morning brew, and it didn't work. And I was in Legoland in Denmark, and my family were outside waiting to go into the theme park. And I'm like sweating, going, "It's not working. Why isn't it working?" And I couldn't get the video to work.
Hang on a minute. Legoland is in Windsor.
No, the real
There's
Legoland.
one in the original one is in Denmark. You know.
I know,
the real
but
one's in Denmark.
I'm being
so now we've got this laptop fund. So hopefully at the end of the year I'll be able to get myself a new laptop. So I won't be so low resolution. I've got a really low frame rate for the people watching. And also I got £2 off One Angry Pagan. Has anyone seen Kanye West's latest Nazi takes? I haven't actually, but can we just go to John for a second? Sorry, Wayne.
Sorry, I just want to quickly say, maybe if you turn off your targeting computer, we might be able to get a better signal.
I'm just going to use the force. John, are you about to cut in there?
I'm interested to,
No, I was just going to say, I sort of, to a degree, I disagree. I actually think it's different. It's very different to 2019 now, because Reform know that the Tories are toast. 2019 was different. 2019 knew realistically that the Tories were probably going to win. You know, we've said on this channel many times reasons why. There's all sorts of reasons. It was a Brexit election. It was very different. This time round, it's not. It isn't a Brexit election, really. It's just not. And Reform, they're biting at the toes percentage-wise in the polls. So I'd be amazed if they step down for any seats. I'd be astonished. I think they know the Tories are done anyway. So I think they're in a situation the other way around now, where they're quite happy to go in on the actual Tory seats this time more often now, to just give them a good kick in and help kick them out. Because Reform know Labour are probably going to win. So I think we have to look at it that way a little bit now. And we've got some of the very sort of safe Tory seats where actually Reform are doing quite well. And they're taking votes away from the Tories. So they're making what you would. And there's loads in us in Essex, Wayne, where there's actually Reform are doing actually pretty bloody good in local polling, which is just in a way because they're taking it's mainly Tory votes they're taking away. So I'm not.
Yeah, well,
You know what I mean?
I had a conversation with my local councillor, who is a Tory, but he's a fundamentally great geezer. I've said this to Graham before.
So,
He's a proper good geezer, and he's done
all right. Yeah,
he's done good things for me and my family. So like he will get my vote locally, but nationally,
you're going to vote Tory.
Go.
You're going to vote Tory. Get off. In the sea. The hell?
welcome to Tory Social.
So during the Second World War,
Wayne, you said something really interesting there. I get what Wayne's talking about. There are people who are fundamentally decent conservatives, and this is really funny. I've got a friend who used to be a member of the Conservative Party and isn't anymore. He used to work for the Conservative Party. Here's the really funny part. He's still a member of the European Party that the Conservatives used to be part of, but then they changed. So he's still a member of the EPP. And we had this conversation about what I would say Tories meaning basically the shower that we have currently in Whitehall, you know, that cabal of very, very right wing, completely delusional people. And I would refer to somebody that, like your councillor Wayne, as, you know, conservative, because he's, you know, that old-fashioned, fundamentally decent, holding on to old-fashioned values, whatever, fine, people you can actually work with. And he's the other way around. So he sees Tory as like a more cutesy term, and he will still call himself a Tory, but not a conservative.
Really?
I'm like, what? What?
Okay.
No,
Yeah, literally
no,
the
that
same
doesn't
thing.
compute. But I think the point remains, no matter which way round you flip the words, there is a differentiation to be made between your fundamentally decent people.
Yeah,
I don't believe you.
I agree with that.
I reckon he goes home and does terrible things to small animals.
Strangles his goldfish.
Yeah. Pokes them with a sharp stick.
Yes.
He's a big meanie.
Drags him through the bowl backwards.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. And you wouldn't know. Oh, he's always nice to me. That's what people say when, like, murderers get arrested. Like, oh, he's a lovely man.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, he used to talk to his plants.
Yeah, but then you get someone like
back
Graham
and say, kill them all.
You get someone like Graham who'd be like, there was always hate behind his eyes.
I can just see it in his eyes.
Yeah. We knew he was a wrong un from the start.
Yes.
Can I just come back to something that John was saying earlier, because I think it's a really important and an interesting point, and also I just sort of want to expand on it. So you're right that this election is different to 2019, and it's not something I consider as much as maybe I should have. In 2019, it was odds on, even if the Brexit Party had stood, that the Tories were going to win that election. Right, is the point that you're making. So the Brexit Party, by standing down, were then going to put themselves in a position to then demand certain things from the incoming parliament. And I guess what we're saying now is that because even if reforms stand down, it's likely to be a Labour government, then it's not that same dynamic there. Is that what you were sort of getting at? Yeah.
They know that you've nailed it as far as what I was trying to say. Yeah, I think that they know damn well that the Tories are probably not going to win the election, and they know they're not really going to get anything out of Labour. Whereas with the Tories, they knew they could hold Johnson's feet to the fire, so to speak.
I also wonder if they did do a deal with him, would they ever be taken seriously ever again?
It'd be a death knell for them. And they know that. They know that this time.
So you know, Aid, what you were just saying, sorry to jump in there, but what you were just saying there, Aid, in 2019, that you're absolutely right that it was a completely different scenario in terms of they had something to ask for. They still had that Brexit to ask for, whereas now what they might be demanding is much more much more unattainable, really, because it's
that's the interesting sort of thing that
what would they be demanding?
Taking from this is, like, if they make a series of demands to Sunak or whoever then says that they're going to lead the Tories after the election, they're not in any position to then give those demands. Like if Tice or Farage or whoever say, we'll stand down if you agree to leave the ECHR, well, then Sunak or whoever goes on to lose the election, they're not in any position to make good on that bet. So why would they stand down, right?
So that's not even reform. Are not even that asked about the EHCR, or are they? Genuine question. I genuinely don't know.
I've seen tweets from Farage where he's talking about, like, leaving the ECHR.
Do you think then this is just sort of like a layman's sort of analysis of your thesis on this, Aid? Do you not then think that reform are basically acting like a parasitic entity for the Tory party, in the sense of they want to be part of something that they can't actually get because they're not seen as a serious contender? But if enough people to infiltrate them, then they might be able to get their right-wing propagandist agenda through.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're hoping for the breakup of the Tory party, and then people will come flooding to reform, and they'll become the de facto right-wing party. I think that's what they've got in their back pocket. But before we go on, a big thank you to Sarah for the super chat. She says thank you for everyone after this morning. You're very welcome, Sarah. And also Puddinator, £10. Thank you very much. I have a cousin who's been a Tory councillor for nearly 20 years in the locals this year. He's standing as an independent because the party doesn't represent his values anymore. We disagree, but he's decent. Now, I was going to mention in the Second World War, the Japanese invaded China, and there was one city, I think it was Nanking, where they committed some horrific atrocities, and a Nazi, like the German ambassador in the city or whatever his job was, he basically acted like the Oscar Schindler for the Chinese who were being so poorly treated by the Japanese. He was like, yeah, that's a bit out of order. So, like, you can have a good Nazi, which is what you're kind of talking about here in my head. I'm just thinking, like...
Let me tell you a bit more about German history.
Okay, go on, Cozy.
I think you do have, like you say, you have to differentiate. Even not everybody was a member of the NSDAP.
Yeah.
The SS, the people who ran the concentration camps, the people who were really into the racial purity laws, they're not the same as the people who were in the Wehrmacht. We had plenty of resistance. Dare I mention the White Rose? There were only a handful of students and professors, but there were a lot of, Germans. Not all Germans were evil just because they were living in an evil regime, even if they were part and parcel of it and part of the cogs in the mechanism.
Yeah.
There were plenty.
But like, how evil do you have to be for a Nazi to go? That's too much, lads.
Sorry, come again.
How evil do you have to be for a Nazi to say that's a bit too much, lads? You're taking that a bit far. You know what I mean? Like,
each person in each situation has maybe a different threshold.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I worry about that. Right, what else was in the news this week? Because we're only doing a 1 hour show tonight, by the way, because I don't know if my internet will last an hour. I might get the blue screen of death before then. If we all turn off in a split second, Liverpool's either been nuked by Putin, trying to take out our laser weapons, or...
Graham, do you want a hotspot off my phone?
Yes, please, Wayne. That might help. Actually, no, the internet here is fine. There's no problem whatsoever with the internet. The problem is with my laptop, which is groaning under its old age. Like dog years are 7 years for a dog, 1 year for a human. Computers are 100 years. It's what every year is 100 years for a computer. So this computer's like 8 years old now. So it's bought the farm. It's older than Yoda. Just before I move on to AIDS story of the week, Owen Knight says Reform's endgame is keeping a snapshot of 1940s England, which is great if you have wealth and means. Most moderates share socialist ideals such as the welfare system and free healthcare. And Coy von Brunn is saying Angela Rayner's house and a daffy face. So we might talk about that in a moment. But
that is going to be my story of the week.
Okay, Aid, story of the week. What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so really important story here. Obviously, I think poll after poll tell us that actually what people want is a general election. They also tell us, poll after poll, that people's biggest priorities are the cost of living crisis, the housing crisis, the NHS. Everyone's bought into these things. They're really, really important. And so to that end, I just felt like the most important story of the week was Sunak's trainers. Did you see Sunak's trainers? Wearing Adidas. He's wearing Adidas.
The Sambas.
Adidas.
He's wearing the Sambas.
Nish Kumar pointed out that he has ruined Adidas Sambas now for everyone.
Absolutely. Apparently, their value has absolutely tanked as a result.
Yeah.
They went from super cool, massive street cred to...
It's like when cool skater surfer guys saw people like me, like 43-year-old IT guys, wearing super dry. They were like, oh.
Why would you ever wear super dry? Why would you wear super dry? Come on, man.
What's wrong with super dry, man?
Nah, overpriced nonsense.
I like it. It's nice, Wayne. We're not getting into this right now.
I've got some super dry stuff, but you have to understand, although I'm 45 years old, I still don't dress myself. Everything I wear was gifted to me, including the hat.
It looks like it.
Yeah. I get dressed by other people in my life.
Looks like you've been kicked for a charity shop.
I'm their ginger dysfunctional Ken doll.
Yeah. Same here.
So yeah, but apart from the Sambas, was there anything else? Was there anything serious, Aid, that you were vexed?
I thought the OJ Simpson thing was interesting.
He went over, didn't he?
He did. He snuffed it. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of comment going around about, you know, well, they refer to it as a mistrial. He was acquitted. What does that say about justice? DNA back in the day. Without sounding too earnest.
How many years later?
Well, without
he tirelessly spent the rest of his living days trying to find out who actually did it.
Yeah, one golf course at a time.
In a Ford Bronco driving under the speed limit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so much of my content and my contributions are kind of piss takey, but I do feel like there's a place in a situation like that to just be like, no, I don't think we should even really be talking about that motherfucker. I think we should be talking about like his wife and the guy that got killed. Like it's easy to crack jokes and to be really cynical and sarky, and God knows, like I go down that road more often than I should. But I do think there's, you know, with somebody like him, we should just flip two fingers up and go like fuck off, and then, you know, remember.
Well, I think the I don't know if you've seen the bit in Family Guy where Stewie and Brian are watching the verdict come out. And it's like, no, guilty. And like Brian's like, yes. And she was like, no. It kind of just, it just summed up that sort of American racial disparity with regards to the whole thing. And yeah, to this day, it still cracks me up, because it was a case of like, when that trial was, because it was broadcast live, everything was done through the racial lines.
Well, there's so much that's so fascinating about it, like the serendipity layers to it, in the sense that it was just at that point of history where the DNA was like, people didn't really know what DNA was. But also it was right at the beginning of like reality TV. That was, in some people's opinion, like the first ever reality TV show was this televised trial. Then you've got the celebrity factor.
24-hour news. Yeah, 24-hour news was dead new then.
Yes,
so many cross sections to it. Like,
100%.
And then
the
whole trial took place like just a short amount of time after the Rodney King beat. Like to have all of this happen like in LA at that time with all of these cross sections is just like incredible. So it's a real like pinch point in history. And I can understand why so many people are obsessed with it.
I don't think it could have ever been a fair trial because of that. And that's why I think that our system, where we have little geezers drawing chalk drawings of defendants and stuff, we don't need to televise it. Why do we need to televise it? Because you are going to queer the pitch as soon as you do that. That's why when it comes to sort of like broadcast laws, as soon as there's an allegation or a charge, you can't talk about that case whatsoever. Because Glenn
McCullough in the chat saying, murders aside, I never forgave OJ for faking the Capricorn 1 Mars landing. It's a very nerdy statement, but I agree. Capricorn 1, one of those 5-star movies that no one's ever heard of. Very well worth checking out. Elliot Gould, OJ Simpson, and I think, was it Bruce Boxleiter was in it as well? Anyway, I was going to say about OJ, my favourite prank of the 90s, and possibly of all time, was a show called The Friday Night Armistice. It might be called The Saturday Night Armistice. It was Romano Annucci who did the Day-to-Day, Brass Eye and Veep, and the thick of it. And he had a show, And it was when OJ Simpson came to speak at the Oxford Union, and as he was coming out, Mano Raiolouchi said he had a piece of A4 paper folded in two, and he handed it him. He said, "Will you sign this for me?" And he goes, "Yeah," signed it. And then Mano Raiolouchi turns back to the camera and he opens it up and it says, "I did
confession.
It." Yeah, it said, "I did it." Genius.
I must admit, watching the Naked Gun CDs is quite an uncomfortable watch now.
Oh, yeah. No, it's still funny,
I still love them.
Yeah.
I still love them, I've got to say.
I don't forget, it's not like they treat Nordberg. Did he play Nordberg?
Nordberg.
Yeah. He doesn't have a very good time of it.
No, it certainly doesn't.
John, what was your news of the week? What was your thing that stuck in your craw or made you laugh?
What sort of news? So Peter Kellner, the quite famous polls psephologist chap. So to me he's up there with Sir John Curtis. He's a bit of a polling legend. He had a real dig at Survation. You remember last week where we had this poll from them where they reckon the Tories were only going to get 98 seats. And I looked at it and thought, no, that's too far. Well, Peter Kellner's come out yesterday and absolutely tore Survation, another one, and has told people to just not solely, but look more at what YouGov are saying. YouGov seem to be a lot more accurate in what their polling, MRP polling seems to be. So it's sort of a news story, but it was something that came up this week where it's a little bit of controversy on Twitter, but I agree with him. I've always never been a big Survation's polls to me have just been a bit too good for Labour. He's just saying, just exercise caution if you see anything by Survation.
Yeah, Phil Morehouse isn't a big fan of Survation either.
Yeah, YouGov, and I've slated YouGov in the past, and I'll be the first to put my hands up and say, yeah, I've probably got that a bit wrong. Because they just seem to be, as time has gone on, they've just seemed to be just a lot more spot on with what they're saying. Well, that was my story really. That was
Phil was saying
fact check.
Yeah, Phil was saying today that the polls for Labour, although it doesn't look, that they haven't really shifted from the mid-40s. It doesn't matter because where the votes are going to go, there's going to be a lot of people voting tactically. This is going to be a huge anti-Tory vote before anything else is considered.
This will be 97 tactical vote.
Yeah, but to your point, Graham, I just think that we don't need to be complacent in this, like that it's nailed on. It's got to be a case of everyone who agrees that the Tories should be out have to vote. Like I even applied, even though I don't need it, I even applied for one of them photo ID cards.
The registration certificates or whatever.
Yeah, my son got one last week actually. Like the old driving licenses.
Are they?
I've got a driving license. I've got a passport. I've got all of the ID. I'm going to walk in there and just be like, "What do you want?" I'm putting my cross in that box.
But I think it's a really good point to make, though. I just saw it in the chat. Voter ID is going to be a big issue. It will be a big issue.
5 million people could be disenfranchised.
Yeah, and the voter authority certificate is free. It's a free document that anyone can get. Yeah, you don't. It's not something we have to, but it's not there. So.
It's not free though because you've got to spend time, and time is money, and people haven't got the time.
And also you have to have
my son did
the skills to get it. You have to have the new, you have to figure out how to do it.
You have to know you need to do it, and they're making it so people don't know. Oh, did you hear that news story today? Not today, but this week about our government. This was on Bylines. Our government is spending tens of thousands of pounds of our money, taxpayers' money, advertising on GB News.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, who the fuck's watching it?
No one.
Yeah.
However much money they're spending,
it's a way of getting taxpayers' money into a Tory donor's pocket.
But it's not going to plug.
Good point, Cozy.
It's not going to plug the gap of Paul Marshall walking away from the board yesterday. Like their main backer, their main financial backer, has just gone like, right, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah, because he's realised he's shit the bed. Like no one's fucking watching it. Like you can't. how can you capitalise something where no one's got fucking eyeballs on it? Yeah. Like, no one cares. Like, literally, GB News and what's the other one? Times TV?
Talk TV.
The only thing...
Talk TV.
Yeah,
well.
Talk TV.
Talk TV.
That's
Talk
gone
TV.
now. It's gone. It's
the only thing I watch is the only thing I watch on that is clips on YouTube of James Whale getting shouted down by someone who knows more than him. I just love it.
Everyone, like... which is everyone. But yeah, I mean, when I was talking about Farage earlier, like, I think that there's a chance that this Marshall creep might, get in more with Tyson Farage, and I can see Farage coming back as leader of Refuck before the end of the year, before the election, and them doing a deal with the Tories where they don't stand in seats that they think the Tories might actually win, and just stand in seats where Labour have got a little bit of an edge, and they'll run on the culture war bullshit of we'll bring down immigration, we'll make Brexit happen again, we'll go after trans people, which is a huge vote winner for idiots.
Farage, to go to your T-shirt, Graham. Farage is the Palpatine of politics. He just keeps fucking coming back with more. I
just don't think they will. I genuinely don't think they will. I really think they know the Tories are toast. They're just gonna. They're not. They're gonna be backing the loser, aren't they? And like we were saying earlier, they're not really going to get anything out of it. I think they know they can sniff with the percentages that they're getting really close to them. Now, they're not going to get any seats, but it's going to be a really visual-wise, that is a huge thing if they can get on the same level paring percentage-wise. So I'm not convinced. I really don't think they're going to do any step-downs this time. They're going to be...
You don't think they're going to get any seats?
No, I don't think they will. I really don't. I
hope so. I think if they even get one seat,
I don't think Reform... Sorry, Cozy. I don't think Reform are going to get.
I think it'll be
used. I think they're running as spoiler candidates.
They just won't. Oh yeah, it's like in 1997 there was the referendum party that did a very similar thing, and they siphoned a lot of Tory votes away. It was James Goldsmith's party, and they reckon it gave Labour about 18 to 20 seats just for the fact that they ran.
I think it's an ego party, because the only people that are going to come out of it are going to be the famous ones, or the people that get the headlines, like your Farage and what's that other twat's name? The actor,
Dickie Tate,
loser
no,
Fox.
Him, Lawrence
in the loosest possible terms. He's also a musician. Oh my God.
I don't think he even knows how to play the tambourine. Come on, Greg, please.
My ears, my beautiful ears.
He can't even set fire to flags correctly.
Well, yeah. That was the most priceless moment.
I love the fact that he failed to do the correct paperwork to run for London Mayor. He did this whole thing about, I'm going to do an announcement, big announcement. And it was going to be that he was going to run for mayor. And the big announcement was, sorry, I messed up the paperwork, so I can't run for mayor.
Yeah,
it's all the fault of the woke blob mob.
What makes that even funnier is that Count Binface did do it properly.
Yeah,
Oh, fantastic!
Well pointed out.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Very true.
So, Wayne, have you got a story? Have you got a story of the week?
Angela Rayner.
Okay, let's talk about Angela, who's going to stand down now.
I'm sorry, that is the biggest non-story
ever. And
all you have to 100%. Go on Twitter, go on Dan Nidler's account, and look at Dan Nidler's
summary. She should have paid £1,500, and she didn't. Says the man who evaded over £110 million in tax.
It's the
Lord
biggest,
Ashcroft.
Like Cozy, as you say, it's the biggest non-story that has been thrust to the forefront because they want to try and damage Labour.
Exactly.
And it's in reality all over again, isn't it? Even down to I will resign if this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But, okay, so hear me out on this. Is there a lesson right, that we can learn in terms of campaigning from this, because what they've done is they've constructed a story and it's bled on now for like 7-8 days. And actually, even though it's a non-story, so the people on the right really want to believe that she's a tax dodger, that there's capital gains liability, etc. People on the left are like, actually, the story is that this is a non-story. So we're all like hyperbolic and frothing about how much it's not a story. But at the top of that sort of pyramid of tabloid nonsense is Angela Rayner and capital gains tax. So is there some way that on the left we could do something similar where we send something out that is a total non-story about a right-winger like a Michael Gove, a Dominic Raab, Rishi Sunak?
We've got plenty of stories.
House flipping.
Yeah, but it's got to be something. It's got to be something.
We just need them to be publicised.
But it's got to be something that is. It's a non-story that we're amping up so that then they get irate about it. And they're like, that's not even a story. And we're like, oh, it is a story. It's totally a story. And then they get more and more irate. Do you know what I mean? That's the genius of it, is getting both sides.
You've got to look at it from the perspective of like Ed Miliband eating a bacon sarnie, right? Oh, Jewish man eating a bacon sarnie, not very well. And the amount of connotations they brought to that, and then Keir Starmer having a curry and a beer during COVID. Non-story was not even a thing, but they ran with it for. I mean, was it 5 consecutive days they had it on the front
2
page?
weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Aid, we've had a suggestion for your story about the Tories from Andy. He says they eat babies.
Yeah.
And do you know what's genius about that, right? I like that, Andy. Well done. So I think this is how that would play out, right? I think we say, do Tories eat babies? Because then you're on the right side of legal, libel, slander and all that. Do they eat babies? Somebody said they ate babies. So you put the rumor out there. And then when they said that they didn't eat babies, then you go, but that to me sounds like anti-eat babyitism or whatever. You just say like that's
what's wrong with babies?
It's a problem.
Are you saying that babies aren't tasty?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Let's get the hashtag Tories eat babies trending.
Yes. Yes, everybody get on Twitter now.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if Angela Rayner, right, sold a house while eating a curry while eating Adidas Sambas? The press would go crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
How dare she do an interview in Adidas Sambas?
Adidas Sambas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just take a look at, like, if we're on the subject of like Angela Rayner and like double standards and media bias and all of that, just pan out for a second and consider the fact that Angela Rayner called some Tories scum, and they thought that was a resignation offence. They were like, "That's outrageous."
They went all in.
Yeah. Meanwhile, whenever they step out of line and call somebody like wanker in the Houses of Parliament, it's like, oh, well, that's all part of the cut and thrust of Parliament. You need to move on, toughen up a little bit. So, frankly, the double standards are there for all to see. Yes.
Yeah.
Remember Michael Fabricant calling Remainers Ramongers?
Yep.
Charming.
Yeah, and also your man from the SNP used the word arse in Parliament, and everyone started clutching their pearls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I must say, Wayne, earlier when you dropped the C-bomb in the private WhatsApp chat, I was hugely offended. I was.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right.
Don't ever say conservative again.
I'll send you.
Watch your language, Graham.
I'll send you a letter from me mum.
If you would, thank you.
Strongly worded letter.
Again.
But yeah, the pearl clutching thing drives up the wall. But again, watching the select committee meeting hearings on COVID and them reading out these messages from Dominic Cummings and every other word, it's like the guy's a total C-bomb. He's a effing idiot. And they're having this lawyer like reading out these like things in this indifferent tone was just absolutely hilarious. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the BBC News channel, and they're like, we apologise for any language.
But the thing is, because it's a descriptor, Ofcom can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Ofcom can't do anything. Oh my God!
Well, don't get me started on Ofcom.
Do you want to do that as your story, Cozy? What do you want to do?
Well, no, maybe not. I've not made up my mind about what's my story. Well, maybe. It's actually a Twitter argument I had the other day.
Oh dear!
There was a big
you argued on Twitter.
Who, me? Surely not.
No one argues on Twitter. It's an argument.
Take the shovel out of her hands.
It's a lovely place, is Twitter.
It's a lovely place where everyone's so nice.
It's not a shovel for digging. It's a shovel for hitting people over the head with.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was that whole palaver. David Lammy was on LBC, and I think I don't actually know what he said, or I think he only read a statement about something. Like, I don't think it was even, and it was like breaking news. So it was because it was during the time when he was on. I don't know. Does he even have a regular slot on LBC? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think he does at the weekend, doesn't he?
Sundays.
Is it a regular slot, or is he just like a guest presenter every now and then?
No, it's regular.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Do you know what? That's something I fundamentally disagree with. But be that as it may, in comparison to the GB News presenter, so this was brought out, and I commented and said, would there be this much outrage if he was a white Tory MP on GB News? Evidently not, because it was about Ofcom. Apparently, he's being investigated by Ofcom, and I'm like, well, there's a lot more of this kind of thing happening on GB News being done by white MPs. Why is Ofcom so much quicker to jump on David Lammy? And of course, I got the backlash. Oh, no. What the Tories are doing on GB News is perfectly fine and acceptable, but it's not okay. It's just like,
yeah.
I was just flabbergasted that there was this, they saw it as exactly the same thing, and they didn't see that, well, actually Lammy is relatively rarely on the radio or on any kind of, he hasn't got
he has a 2-hour show on
Sundays. Shows as a Rees-Mogg, or can't remember who else has shows, Nadine Dorries, but I don't think she's still an MP. I can't remember.
She's been jogged on.
Also, she was on Talk, which has been cancelled now. So,
but do you know what I mean? Maybe it's just my impression, because I don't watch any of that shit. I don't even watch LBC. I mean, I follow James O'Brien, but I don't really engage with any of that. I catch the occasional glimpse. Tell me honestly, is it just because my impression is that, a Diane Abbott gets a couple of figures wrong and she gets almost lynched. A David Lammy makes a statement that it is perfectly innocuous, and he gets investigated by Ofcom. And yet at the same time, we have, there's a different order of magnitude before they get investied.
Yeah,
Wayne, you're not allowed to say anything because you're likely to be biased.
The Lammy thing is very frustrating because he did nothing wrong. Like, he was presenting, and he's not a news presenter, but there was breaking news while he was doing his show.
Right.
So he said, "This has just happened." I mean,
this is like, to Cozy, to your point, this is the epitome of institutional racism.
Absolutely.
When it comes to certain people. And that was
my argument.
And like, for me, like, because we had the Tory mayoral candidate for London. She shit the bed on her figures.
Susan Hall.
Susan Hall.
Yeah. She shit the bed on her figures. Nothing. Diane Abbott.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, Susan Hall can't even string a sensible sentence together. So
she lost her Oyster card and then blamed it on immigrants in London.
Yes. And then there was that blatant where she actually photoshopped, and she's blatantly perpetuating a lie about Paper Mile.
But
yeah.
I mean, she should be
which Khan has denied they're going to do
that level of lying.
I'm loving this.
I'm
loving in the chat, Cozy. Sorry.
Oh. So these are the things that constitute to what is known as institutional racism.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but people don't want to hear it because
their unconscious bias is so fucking strong. Their unconscious bias is so strong.
Yeah, it's the same thing as like the Meghan Markle and Catherine Windsor.
On anything.
It was Graham. It was you who showed me that side by side of, pictures of Catherine Middleton or Duchess, whatever, Catherine pregnant and cradling her bump and all of that.
Oh, well, how
nice!
Juxtaposed
to Meghan Markle's, and it is startling when you see it side by side like that.
The best one was the avocados.
Startling.
Did you see the avocado one, Cozy?
The avocado one's ridiculous.
The avocado was like literally there was a story about Kate Middleton about her eating avocados and how it was good for her health and it's great that she eats avocados. Yeah. And then Meghan Markle ate exactly the same sandwich and they were like, is Meghan Markle
Californian, isn't she?
Terrorism by eating avocados?
It constitutes to fucking to murder and fucking terrorism.
Yes.
Avocados.
Yeah, because
it's something to do about destroying the environment or something.
And funding drug gangs.
They just chucked everything at it.
Yeah.
So
I just and the thing is, if you, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, people in the chat are saying that it's funny how no one calls Twitter X. We would just call it Twitter. And Joe Lefty Boat is saying Twitter is the only acceptable dead name. I can test that because I think that Snickers should still be called Marathon, and I'm taking that to the grave with me. Much better name.
But it wasn't Twitter that decided to change its name to X.
Well, Graham, I disagree with you.
What?
In my cleaning cupboard right now is a bottle of Jif.
Is a bottle of what?
Sif.
Jif.
Okay.
I thought it said gin.
Yeah, but if it was called Jif and it was lemon flavoured, some people might spray it on their pancakes and die. Is that what you want? Because that's what'll happen.
This story would have been more interesting if it had been a bottle of gin. I would have been like, all right.
Yeah, all right. My ears pricked up when I heard gin.
I've got a bottle of Jif, guys.
It's 10 o'clock.
I'm sorry, Darren, you're drinking a can of fucking Bud Light, you woke wanker.
Yeah.
I've even got
no.
I've got some Prosecco as well, so I'm probably
we are seeing. You
should be drinking Lilt.
Yeah.
No, I think you'll find that it's Fanta, great. Grapefruit and pineapple crush.
Yes, grapefruit and pineapple crush.
Top Deck Limeade Lager was the best.
Sorry, who?
Top Deck Limeade and Lager. That was pure Essex drink. That for when you were a teenager thinking you were hard.
Pardon, who?
Shandy.
We had Mad Dog 2020. Remember Mad Dog? Bottle of Mad Dog,
mate.
In the cinema watching Speed. Keanu Reeves.
Dude, when I used to go Rollermania in 1995, I used to neck 2 bottles of hooch and a bottle of 2020, skating around the rink, listening to TLC Waterfalls off me tits.
Oh.
It wasn't even a round rink, was it? That was the problem.
No. Darren, can I bring Darren in? Darren, what was your story of the week? Was there something that you pickled your fancy?
Guys, I've got to go.
Okay, we're going to be wrapping up soon. Thanks so much, Aid. Legends.
Well, there are a couple of things that just sprung at my mind, but then my main one that was, when you talked about Susan Hall. Have you seen the latest tweet where she says, even though that picture might have been photoshopped, he's still going to do pay per mile. So
I saw her say that. Yeah, I saw that.
Talk about an oxymoron.
Can we all do our Evening Standard cover picture of Susan Hall where she's like this? Can we all do that?
Screenshot it.
Everyone. Vote for me! I'll be brilliant!
I'm saying.
But vote. I'm definitely saying. So, like, what was this? So she's basically lied about the fact that Rishi Sunak, Sadiq Khan is going to bring in a paper mile charge in London, and it's not true.
And she admitted it.
She pulled it out of her arse.
She admitted it was photoshopped, but still ran with it.
So, but what? So she knew it was photoshopped before she posted it.
She admitted it. Yeah, she admitted it. It may be. She said, it may be photoshopped, but he's still going to do it.
Christ.
And which Khan has basically said, "No, I'm not doing it." It's insane what she's doing. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, another tweet that made me chuckle. You know when you talked about Angela Rayner, Wayne, you mentioned Angela Rayner. Now you know James Daly. He's been pushing this and pushing this. He's properly having a right wank fest over it. Pardon my French. But I had a little look on Twitter and people were taking rise out of him. And the best one I heard was they said, "That ain't a forehead. That's a 5-head." And I just wet myself laughing. I just fell about laughing. The main one was I read with avid interest, and it's just a crying shame that Rachel ain't here because I wanted to hear her input about this. We're about is it the Cass report?
Yeah, the Cass report came out. If Rachel had been on tonight, we would have talked about it if she wanted to. But it's absolutely horrific, the Cass report.
I don't think it's as bad as some people are making it out to be.
I think it's pretty lousy. It basically says that we don't want to give trans kids treatment, but we're not going to accept them.
That's not what it says, though. What it says is that there is not a lot of longitudinal evidence for giving children puberty blockers before they've started puberty. So we're talking children under the age of 11, 12. So, you know, it is more nuanced than a lot of the media are making out.
Well, the media's loving it, so that worries me.
Well, that's the problem. The trans folks are absolutely jumping on it.
Yeah, and they're loving it. And
it's column inches, though, Graham. It's column inches.
Well, yeah, but I mean, a lot of the references that they've used in the report are from noted transphobes, and they've ignored loads of data. And also, no trans people were involved in the making of this report, which I find disgusting. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing, I think it's indefensible. I really do. It's going to go down in I don't know. It's upsetting to me, but I honestly don't know enough about it to be waxing lyrical, I guess. But I would like to have a conversation, perhaps with Rachel or one of our other friends.
If I'm honest, the one thing that I found uncomfortable about it was when they mentioned the autism a couple of times, and I felt a little bit uncomfortable at that. My eldest is autistic, and I felt a little bit uncomfortable there.
Do you know what else is it? There's a bit of a correlation with being trans, being left-handed. You're slightly more likely to be trans if you are left-handed.
Oh, next week I'll be wearing my wife's dress.
They're not really left-handed. They're just trans. No, they're not really trans. They're just left-handed.
There's I'll get you a wig.
There is,
I've got a wig just over there.
Correlation. And that's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, the people, there is a correlation between people who have autism and people who are trans. That's fine. It doesn't mean it's one or the other. You can be both. Exactly. But I need to sit down. I need to read the report properly. But I was a bit disturbed. And I was going to talk tonight a little bit, not necessarily about the Cass report, but about Labour. And I don't think it's them being complacent, but I saw Wes Streeting's tweet about the Cass report. As soon as it came out, he couldn't have had time to read it, but I guess he got a preview copy maybe. But I just feel like I understand why they're trying very hard, the Labour Party, to not make people vote against Labour in the next election. But every time they do things like this, it means that there's fewer people voting for the Labour Party. And I know it's a tight road. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm just, when you mention that, I'm just wondering, Graham, do you think they may be trying to keep the bullets out of their opposition Conservatives' gun that's pointing at them for culture war?
They are, because a lot of the votes they lost in 2019 wasn't, a lot of the votes that the Tories gained in 2019, wasn't for the Tories. It was against Labour. And they're really worried about that happening again. And that's why they've been so soft on these culture war.
And I think with Keir Starmer's attitude to sort of like anti-Semitism, he's seen the backlash that he's had through the right-wing media, through the Jeremy Corbyn years, and he's trying to appease them because he's like, well, if I don't get them on board, like they got on board with Tony Blair in '97, we've got no chance. So what he's trying to do, he's trying to be everything to everybody, but it's like, mate,
well, he's not though, is he? He's not trying to be anything to me. He's not. He's doing very little. I don't agree with that.
No, but what I'm saying, he's trying to.
This is the problem. You can't be everything to everybody. So they are very much targeting the marginal seats and taking a punt on what is it that people in those marginal seats want.
Yeah. But I feel he's taken my vote for granted. Which, to be honest with you, he can.
Yeah.
At this point, he can't take my 2029 vote for granted. But this one, in this election, I am voting Labour. It's as simple as that because they're the party that are most likely to
where you live. Yeah. I don't have a vote, so it's all academic. And you know what? Why are we talking so much about a general election that's not being called yet? Can we talk more about the 2nd of May, please?
I don't think that actually, to me, I think it's the way the language is used here, because I don't think Starmer is necessarily going for Tory voters. I think he's actually going for voters that happened to vote Conservative last time. They're not necessarily Tory voters.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's precisely that's what Tony Blair did in 1997, right the way through. That's exactly his words. He's like, they were not Tory voters. They happened to vote Tory last time. So I think we have to be careful in how we term that, because hardcore Tory voters, they're still not going to vote Labour. They're just not going to turn up, in theory.
But John, that's my exact point, in the sense of he's trying to be everything to everyone to get those people that used to vote Tory over to Labour and go, oh, do you know, we'll give them a go. We'll give them a go, and that's it's literally an ego power grab, like.
But you've got to grab the centre and then move left. Really, the centre's there to be taken.
Yeah, you've got to be empowered to be able to impose.
Sure, exactly. And you need to grab the centre. So
every party that got itself elected was always to the centre. Whether that's the Conservatives, it was always the centre, right? Conservatives,
which is why Labour were never going to win it in 2019. Not a million years. I wanted them to. Of course, I wanted them to.
And
never going to happen.
And just
I didn't understand why Labour didn't win in 2019. I honestly couldn't understand it. I couldn't get it. I still can't get my head around it.
Well, I just want to circle back to something that we were talking about earlier about voter ID. Where did the Tories get that from? They got that from the Republican Party in America.
Yeah.
Because
voter suppression.
That basically just, it's voter suppression, because at the end of the day, like, a lot of people of ethnic minorities are mistrusting of authority. So they're less likely to have any kind of ID, photo ID, anything like that. They just rely on just being them. So when you back in the day, you get your polling card, and you just walk up to the polling station and vote.
You didn't even need a polling card, mate. You just had to have your name. You came armed with your name.
To be fair,
you voted. And hardly any cases at all of voter fraud, any at all. But just to go back to what Cozy just said, she's right. 2nd of May, because this feeds into the whole voter ID thing. We need as many people as possible to vote in the local elections on May the 2nd, so they can go, oh, I need voter ID, because they might not know up to that point. So we need people to get people out and say, this is a chance to stick one to the Tories.
It's the 16th of April, which is Tuesday.
Oh, shit. Is it?
So you've got this weekend to sit your bum down and register to vote.
Well, we're fine. We do by postal vote anyway.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm sure most people watching this will be registered to vote, but if you have friends or family or neighbours, colleagues or whoever,
absolutely,
say to them, get registered. Are you sick of the Tories yet? Well, here's a chance.
And if you know any EU citizens, remind them to register to vote in the local elections, because EU citizens do have the right to vote in local elections if they have a status under the EU settlement scheme.
Exactly.
If they arrived after Brexit is a different story.
Yeah.
And also to check their registration requirements for voting in the European Parliament elections in June, because we need to make sure that we have the migrant vote mobilized. Yeah. And I'm gonna stop ranting there. I'll not take over.
No, you can.
I've got a bit of personal news, and you guys are allowed to fall over laughing.
Go on then.
I've signed up to stand-up comedy workshops.
Brilliant.
I'm not promising to entertain anybody.
And another thing.
I'll come watch.
Why did you say we're not allowed to laugh? If you stand-up comedy, you want us to laugh.
I said you are allowed to laugh. You're allowed to laugh at me failing miserably.
If it's funny, it's funny.
I was going to say, in that case, we'll all turn up. We'll all turn up with a comedy store and just be in the front row like that.
Yeah, all right. I mean, it will,
funny.
Brexit will be mentioned for sure.
So can I just say, I've just seen something in the comments about where someone says they've got their polling card and their driving license for ID. One thing that came up with me that, again, people need to be aware of is when they receive their polling card, there are some that think that is good enough. That's their identification of who they are.
Not.
And it's not.
It's got to be photo ID now.
It's ridiculous, but this is things we have to drill into people at the moment.
You need that photo
to have
ID.
May 2nd as a dry run, a bit of
and remind me if I'm wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong. I believe an old person's Oyster card is valid for voter ID, but a young person's isn't.
No, it's not.
That's right.
Yeah. There's
hardly any young people's ID that's valid. It's all like old people's ID is valid because it's voter suppression. Look, Jacob Rees-Mogg actually said out loud, we tried to suppress the vote, and it didn't go down too well for us. Just before we go on, Yoni, thank you very much for the super chat. Even if you never vote again, do get an ID and vote in this general election just to ensure you can vote again, which I applaud.
Right. That's a really good point.
Right.
Yeah. But we need to take the Tory party down for its crimes against humanity.
Before we wrap, when I applied for my voter ID, the only reason I did it was because I wanted to make sure that I had all bases covered, right? Yeah. So I've got a driving license, I've got a valid passport, I've got
a shit passport,
a car, and
shit passport.
No, I've got a maroon one, my friend.
You got what? I've got his. It says in the top here. It says his Britannic Majesty.
Graham, are you going to start flexing with all your passports? Are you going to?
No, I don't have them here. I just have them because I got back from Denmark last night. Anyway.
No, but the last time we spoke about passports, you had a stack of them.
Yeah, because I had them on my table at home. Although Ben Chambers is looking after them while I'm away because they're like my pride and joy. So I drove around to Ben's and dropped them off at Ben's before I left the country, just in case. So I hope he's keeping them secret and keeping them safe.
Well, I just want to explain the whole voter ID thing. So I said, like, I followed all the prompts on the screen, and it said basically we don't think you're eligible for a voter ID because you've got a driving license and a passport. So I just went back and said,
"Ignore that."
I ain't got that. I just went back. I just went back and said, "I ain't got one of them." And they went, "Oh, you can get it." And I just clicked, "Yes, thank you very much." And they'll be with you in like the next few days. I was like, "Sweet."
Yeah, my son got it in I think 4 days. And the way you do it on the as you're right, Wayne, basically. It will say, have you got one of these? Have you got one of these? Have you got one of these? If you just say no to each one, even if you have, right, it will take you through and you can get a voter authority certificate. You can just get one and they'll send you one out. And and I did it with my son. It was so easy to do. It's nothing anyway. It's like literally it takes like 3 minutes to do.
Piece of piss.
I'm just wondering, do you think they've done it to set it up?
The problem is not the application. The problem is people need to know about it.
Yeah, exactly. They need to know. They
spread the word.
And I mean, this is not a problem for your audience, but people who are digitally capable.
Yeah, because they're watching this on YouTube, and you're into politics. So I'm going to assume everyone watching this has already sorted this stuff out.
But
the
your
people
friends
in your
might
life.
not be.
Yeah.
You'll be out there, speak to people, ask them how aware they are. Ask them that whether they know that they need this. Ask them, will they be able to fill in an online form? Because you'd be surprised how many, even young people, don't bother. I mean, they might use Facebook, but filling in an online form on the government website is a different story. They suddenly kind of go, what do I do now?
Well, maybe on the Labour Social, we should put the links out there to.
Yeah, please do.
Well, we've got
send that to people.
We've got 200 odd people watching right now. So if you're watching this, please make a list of 10 people in your life and get in touch with them and say you've got to vote for. You've got to vote. Say you've got to register to vote.
You don't tell them who to vote for. Never ever tell anybody who to vote for.
Just vote Labour. Just put the link in your status. That's it.
Vote tactically, Graham. Vote tactically.
No, get in touch with them. Like, call them up. Like, give them a call. No one likes getting called these days. Maybe text first.
Are you going to vote? Well, have you got?
Or Graham's going to turn up with his fucking pitchfork and a torch.
Yes.
Yeah. Vote, goddammit.
Well, I must admit.
Whilst he's wearing his Liverpool shirt.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, most of my friends are usually mainly Reform fans and have taken quite a liking to 30p Lee, so I'm not going to tell them anything.
Why are they still your friends? Oh. Davin, mate.
Right.
Davin, listen.
Graham,
get
we've been through this.
Mates.
We've been through this. You can be mates with people that disagree with you politically.
Hello, is that the mate shop? Yeah, we need to get some better. We need to get some better mates for Davin. Better mates.
Right, guys. Politics is not a football game, right? It's not a football team you support. Who you vote for changes, and people can be great. I know a couple of Tories. They're all right people. They're okay.
Yeah, but John, I stood against Labour in 2017 in my constituency here in West Derby, Liverpool, and that means I can't support Labour now. That's what I was told by Owen Jones. That was
well, there you go then.
That was his justification. He said, but you stood against Labour, so you can't support them now. I think he also thought that if you had stood against anti-Semitism, if you stood against apartheid in the 1980s, you couldn't possibly be anti-Semitic now.
You just stepped on a political landmine.
No, I'm talking about Mel Gibson. I don't know who you're talking about. I'm talking about Mel Gibson, mate.
Do you think? Not so much for the local elections, but do you think if and when the general election runs around that Gaza is going to inform people's voting decisions?
No. I think for some people it will, but I think for a lot of people...
for a significant number of people, yeah.
Yeah, but I think for a lot of people who are really suffering right now, bad mental health, bad physical health because of poverty... that's about children being shorter now in the UK because of malnutrition. Just breaks my heart. And I think that sort of thing is going to be on people's minds.
There's a significant number of people who are put off voting Labour because of the lack of a call for ceasefire.
Okay, Cozy. I will tell you for now. In my street, right, I'm probably the most politically engaged person in my street, and I would be all about the ceasefire in Gaza, but the majority of people in my street would be like, pick the bins up each week, sort out the potholes.
Do they realise the difference between local authority and government?
No, they don't know. They don't know the difference between that.
No, seriously.
I mean, and you get candidates doing this. You get candidates who are going to be an MP saying, "I'm going to fix the potholes."
Yeah, and half of my friends are having a fit about their flag. Half of my friends are having a fit about the changing of the flag into funny colours.
Oh yeah, the people that shit the bed on that England shirt.
You mean like what the Tories do in every conference that they have, where they change the colours to all blue?
Yeah. Even I posted evidential like pictures of this flag being changed in so many different ways. Oh, you're just being a fucking woke dickhead.
Imagine being so lazy that you have to get someone else to tell you what to be angry about. I mean, imagine that level of just absolute laziness. Like, you can't even be bothered to read an article that's just,
get angry about your own shit.
You can't just have information. You need to have someone's take on that information to know what your take should be.
I just wanted to take a fucking golf club to so many people on fucking Twitter.
Oh, well, there goes our monetization. Cheers, Wayne.
We
almost made it that as well.
No, Graham. I meant to take them a golf club.
Oh, okay. Take them to a golf club.
Yeah.
The 18th hole for a beer.
Yeah. No, the 19th hole.
19th hole. Sorry.
It's the 19th hole.
Why are you being so incendiary?
What?
Yeah.
Bloody golfers. Anyway, right, we're going to have to wrap it up there, I'm afraid. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone watching, everyone who's dropped some bon mots into the chat there. Thank you so much. Thanks for the super chats, obviously. That's absolutely awesome. And thank you to our guests. Thank you to Darren and John and Wayne and Cozy and Aid, even though he buggered off a few minutes ago. And until next time, I'll say thank you so much for watching. I'll be back on Monday morning with Morning Brew. And until then, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and
goodbye.
Bye.